Okay, hello and welcome to the Kickstart event for Student Robotics 2026. This is going to be marking the start of the competition cycle. We're here at the University of Southampton. The people in the room are aware of this. There are some number of people watching online. I don't entirely know how many. We'll find out as the day goes on. So over the next hour, or what I hope it's going to be an hour, I'm going to kind of run through quite a few things actually. I want to run through what is Student Robotics. I'm going to run through the schedule for the coming year. We'll give you some tips for building your robots. We'll go through designing, building, and then developing your robots. Go through a couple of bits around health and safety. We're going to talk about the game, the thing you're actually going to be doing for the course of this year. And then we're going to be running through the micro games, which is what you'll be doing for the rest of today to get used to using your robotics kit. Now, you're about to be given quite a lot of information, and having questions is completely normal. If you do have any questions, if you're in the room, post them in chat or try and remember them. There'll be plenty of time at the end. If you're watching this afterwards, again, Discord is a great place, or the YouTube chat, which I think is over there, if I'm not being mirrored. Post them when you think of them, so it means we're less likely to get flooded at the end. We've got a crack team of volunteers collating these and writing them down so that we remember them. Very busy. Like I say, there is plenty of time at the end, and there is no such thing as a silly question. If you're thinking about it and you're confused by it, chances are someone else is too, and it's quite likely I've misexplained something than it is that you're not understanding something. So what is Student Robotics? Well, Student Robotics, we're a UK-based charity to bring the mission, with the mission to bring the excitement of engineering and the challenge of coding to young people through robotics. And we do that by helping you build autonomous robots in teams of 16 to 19-year-olds across the country, and even some teams into Europe as well. We do this by running an annual competition. The event at the end lets you show off the robots that you've built. You'll compete against other teams. You'll be starting now-ish, and the competition itself will be in April. You'll build a robot and then come to our competition to show it off. As mentioned, Student Robotics, we are a charity, and we could not do what we do without the support of our sponsors. They let us run this event for you, with it being free to enter. You'll get the robotics kits from it, and we get various other support to make the event what it is. Again, being a charity, Student Robotics is entirely run by volunteers. We give our free time to make this possible. There are quite a few of us. There are more than are even in this picture. We're here to help you. We love doing this, and it's our jobs to make sure you get the most out of this endeavour, whether that's advising you on your strategies, assisting with software development, debugging any issues you might have, supporting your team supervisors with helping you get the most out of this event, and of course, running these in-person events themselves, whether that's today or the final event in April or the various other ones throughout this competition cycle. Now, competition wouldn't be much without teams. This year, there are around 30 of you from various places. Without teams and robots, the competition would be pretty boring. So, where are all of you? Student Robotics welcomes teams from all over, mostly around the south of Europe. We've got a couple in North Wales, a handful in the Midlands, depending on your definition of where the Midlands is. We've got the Ladies' College Guernsey down in, funnily enough, Guernsey. And we have Gymnasium Markt Indersdorf in Germany, which are pictured there, which is quite obviously not to scale. So what does the competition look like? Well, this video, which is playing, thank goodness, is from the 2025 finals, the event that we had in April of this year. The idea is to place pallets, which are cardboard boxes, into districts. The districts further into the middle of the arena are worth more points. And the pallets are worth even more points if they're placed higher, horizontally, vertically even, in the arena. There are 4 robots in a given match. Each match is around 2 minutes long. You are not going to be playing this year. It'll be very similar. There'll be similar sized robots, similar sized arenas, similar amounts of time. But as you can see, there's a lot going on. And that'll be you in about 6 months' time doing this kind of thing. This all happens at our final competition event. It's a 2-day weekend event happening in April. You'll have a number of matches throughout the day, and there'll be time in between for you to tweak your robot as needed. That did not transition. Now it did. Fantastic. So that's a lot to do. So starting from today, you've got about 5-ish months you need to design your robot. You're going to want to build some kind of rough and ready prototype. You're going to need to build it. The material choice is entirely up to you. You're going to want to style it to make your robot look great. Like this one from last year. Yes, that is a mirror on the back of it. You're going to do some electronics, hopefully slightly better than this. You're going to write quite a lot of code. You're going to test your robot. You're going to test it some more. You're going to test it some more. I can't emphasize enough how important testing is. You're going to make some adjustments. Hopefully it won't be using a hammer, but you never know. It won't be perfect first time, and that's okay. You're going to work as a team. You're going to get your robot inspected. You're going to compete. You're going to compete some more. And you're going to compete even more. You're going to be doing a lot of competing in a lot of matches throughout the course of this competition. Your robot is going to meet other robots, and you'll meet other robots. You're going to meet quite a lot of other people. Like I say, there are 30 teams competing this year. You will hopefully score some points. Again, hopefully win some prizes. And above all else, have fun. This competition is about learning, having fun, and building the best robot, in that order. So what could your robot look like? We talked a lot about what you have to do. Let's dive into talking about what your robot could do. The objective is to build a robot. And as many as you know, robots come in lots of different shapes and sizes. Some look like boxes. Some look quite intricate. Some look like that. Some look like cars. Some look like car washes. Some look like spiders. Yes, those are legs. John, I'm sure you're watching. And really anything else. The only limit is your imagination and our rules and health and safety. So let's talk about a couple of design tips. Yeah, I don't know what Apple were thinking, really. I'll give you some tips about your design, hopefully better than a trillion-dollar company. Above all else, read the rulebook for this year. It's incredibly useful. You're going to need to think about how your robot is going to move. Is it going to have wheels or tracks or legs if you're John Bartlett? If you've got exposed mechanisms, you want to make sure that those aren't going to get caught on anything. Servos are really useful for precise movement, but they're not going to be very good for actually driving unless you're using legs. You can't hold two bits of, say, wood together and hope that they'll magically fuse. You need to think about how that's going to work. Is it going to be glue, nails, screws, things like that? Robots come in all shapes and sizes, as we've seen, but they still have size constraints in the rules that you're going to need to adhere to. And you can't build things with tools that you don't have access to. If your entire robot is built around a 3D printer and laser cut ply, and you have access to neither, you're not going to be able to build your robot. You are going to need to think about what tools you have available to you, whether that's personally or through your school's design technology department. Oh, I should have been hitting the button while I was talking. There we go. Autonomous robots needs to be aware of their environment. Like we say, this is an autonomous robotics competition. You press start and then the robot does its thing. There is no additional input. So you're going to need to think about what kinds of sensors you're going to be using, whether that's vision using a camera, whether you've got bump sensors, light gates, potentiometers, rotary encoders, accelerometers, gyroscopes, time of flight sensors, and many, many, many more. There are lots of different sensors that you can use with our kit. You just need to know how to actually do it. They all have their merits, and you want to make sure you're using them in the right places. But they're not good at everything all of the time. They have different trade-offs. So along with sensors, you are going to have some electronics. You're going to need to work out where they actually go. Your robot, you don't really want to just be a spaghetti mess like the picture that we showed earlier. I can say that because I built that robot. You need to think about how you're going to use the sensors. Can you actually, can you interface them with our kit? The answer is probably yes, but you're going to need to work out how. How long should the wires be? How are you going to get power and data between all the different parts of your robot? You want to make sure that the start and stop button is easily accessible. If your robot is driving across the room as fast as it can, you want to be able to very easily turn it off. Again, yes, I have had to run after a robot and try and kill it. You're going to need your USB stick. Your USB stick is, that's going to have your code on it, that's going to be plugged in, but you're going to need to make sure that that is accessible. You're going to have one USB stick for your code and one USB stick which we'll provide at the competition, which tells your robot which area it's in. And of course, your robot is going to be powered by some kind of battery and you want to make sure it's protected. More on that later. So, our super high-end kit. We want to help you out by building your robots as much as you can. We're not sending you in empty-handed. hopefully you should have received, oh, that bit's wrong. Yes, we're going to give you a kit. It's going to have a lot of useful things in it. The brains of the operation, as it were, is the brain board. It looks very similar to a Raspberry Pi 4, and that's because it is a Raspberry Pi 4. And this is where your code runs, and this is what controls all the other components of your kit. There's a little thing on top of it, which we call the KCH, which is a little hat, which has a bunch of nice fancy LEDs on it. And because it's 2025, some of them are RGB. And this can be really useful for debugging and understanding what your code is doing, and also what the robot is doing as it turns on, as to work out exactly why something's not working. The motor board, very aptly named, it controls motors. Each motor board can control up to 2 motors. You get 2 motor boards in your kit, so in total you can control up to 4 motors with our boards. If you want more motors, you'll need to source your own controllers yourselves. There are no motors in the kits. Sourcing those is up to you, but the docs can help you to work out what kinds of motors that you need and which ones are good. The motor boards themselves control 12-volt motors, so you will need to buy 12-volt motors. If you put a 5-volt motor into them, they will get very unhappy. The motors will get unhappy. The boards will be fine. Another aptly named board is the servo board. This one can control up to 12 or 8, depending on who you ask, RC servos. Servos are really good for fine movement, like the spider that we saw earlier. You wouldn't really use a motor for each part of the legs, but servos work very, very well for that. Servos can draw quite a lot of current under load, so if you're putting a lot of strain on them, you want to be careful because you will potentially damage the servo, some bits of our kit, or worst case scenario, you'll hit a current limit and your robot will just shut down. That limit is there for safety. Again, servos are not included in the kit, but the docs or volunteers can hopefully help you source the right ones that you need. Now, electronics need power, and that is where our power board comes in. Again, we're really good at naming things. The power board supplies 3 different kinds of power. We've got some high current 12-volt power, we've got some low current 12-volt power, and then we've got a little bit of 5-volt for other 5-volty things. As you can tell, I don't do electronics. On this board as well is where the power and start buttons live. These are the ones that turn your robot on, and then in the competition itself, you'll press start and it will go. This is the only board that is connected directly to the battery. Now, speaking of the battery, it should be treated with respect. They are sort of yay big, chunky things, and there is quite a lot of power contained in one of those things. We generally say, sort of as a rule of thumb, the amount of energy contained in a fully charged LiPo battery that we give you is about the same kinetic energy as you'll find in a hand grenade. They are incredibly good at powering a robot, but that means if you stab them, they are incredibly good at setting on fire. So don't stab them, so it won't set on fire. You do not want to connect these batteries to anything other than the power board that we supply and the charger that we supply. They should not be plugged into anything else under any circumstance. If you're unsure and you have any questions, please contact us as soon as possible so we can answer some questions. If you're just interested in batteries and stuff, ask us as well. It isn't just about us being boring. Now, on top of the Pi, you will have seen there is that hat. That means that the GPIO pins that you would generally find on a Pi are not accessible. So we instead provide an Arduino. This provides the general purpose I/O or GPIO, very similar to what you would find on a Raspberry Pi, but with a few extra benefits. These will do analog, digital, and PWM pins. There are many uses for that kind of I/O. Lots of the sensors I mentioned earlier will need to connect to some of these pins. We ship them with a stock firmware that will nicely talk with the rest of our kit, but if you would like to write completely custom firmware for these, you absolutely can do. You can extend our firmware or write your own from scratch, and there is documentation for how to do both on our docs. If the button works, there we go. So, as I've mentioned a little bit, there is a vision system. This is a photo from a previous competition, the 2025 one from back in April. Around the arena and some of these cardboard boxes are fiducial markers. They look like QR codes, but they're not QR codes. They are called fiducial markers or various other shortenings, but they're not QR codes. A QR code will generally encode an entire URL. These fiducial markers have just one single number, but because of that and because of the way they work, you can get a lot of positional information from them. So not only can you tell this is this kind of box or this is this part of the arena wall, you can actually use that to work out where you are, where that is relative to you. So you can work out the type it is, whether you're looking at an arena or a box. You can work out how far from the webcam it is. You can work out the relative angle from your robot, again, as a thing. And you can also work out the rotation across various axes. Combine vision isn't perfect. It's bad at quite a lot of things, actually. It isn't perfectly accurate. You might get really, really precise numbers, but it might be slightly wrong. There are things that can block a marker. If you've got something covering, say, a third of it, the robot will not be able to see it at all. It's not very good while moving. Motion blur is a really big problem in detecting these kinds of markers. And it's also not exceptionally fast. Generally, there are a bunch of reasons why this is the case, but you'll only be able to capture around 3 frames per second out of these things. It'll take about 300 milliseconds to actually fully capture an image, process it, and spit it back out. Other sensors are going to be significantly faster, and there are lots of alternatives. If you're just trying to work out, have I run into something, a little switch on the front will do fine. If you're trying to work out the distance towards something, maybe ultrasound will work. If you're trying to work out if you've crossed a threshold, maybe a light gate will work better. Different sensors are good at different things. That is the main thing. They all have their merits and they should all be used in the right places. If you try and do everything with a camera, you're going to have some issues. If you try and do everything with an ultrasound sensor, you're going to have some issues. If you try and do everything with bump sensors, your robot is going to be driving into a lot of walls, which is really funny to watch, but not particularly efficient. Now, each piece of the kit needs to be connected correctly. This diagram is in the docs, and there is also a helpful video there which walks you through fully how to connect things up. And as well, the micro games as well that we'll be running through for the rest of today will also guide you through how to connect things, why you connect them in that way, and then we will confirm that everything is working as it should be. Now, these boards need to be securely attached to your robot. You want to make sure that if your robot does hit something, which, let's be honest, it will hit something eventually throughout the course of this year, you want to make sure that the boards don't come flying off, or in the case of certain teams, it gets knocked and the battery falls out the back. Yes, that's happened multiple times. So you want to make sure that they are mounted securely. You want to mount the boards with things like screws or Velcro or cable ties. You don't want to just assume they're going to stay there with the power of gravity alone. You don't really want to be using adhesives, hot glue, tape, PVA, blue tack, things like that. They gunk up the kit, they're a pain to remove and then put back. You want to use nice removable fixings. Velcro in particular is an amazing one for this kind of thing, or cable ties. Now, we've been doing this quite a while, some of us quite a lot longer than others, and we have some recommendations for how to do that. The one thing is worth noting is start simple. You want to get something moving as soon as possible. And you're going to want to be thinking about a few things. You're going to be wanting to think about your general strategy. What will your robot do in the game? How's your robot going to sense its environment? How is it going to be built? You're going to need to work out, you iterate in little pieces often. You don't want to make huge changes to your robot that's going to take sort of multiple weeks, because then anyone else working on the robot can't do anything for those weeks. You want to make sure you're just always moving forwards and improving, because you haven't got much time. And try not to break things. And as well, something else I've also mentioned is lots and lots of testing. Now, robots must be safe, realistically above all else. And for that, we're going to be doing a safety inspection. And until your robot passes that safety inspection, it cannot compete. So you're going to need to be thinking about some things, which are not limited to how easy is the robot to turn off. If we pick it up, is there a button that's really obvious, which is going to cut all the power? If we pick the robot up, is it going to hurt us or other parts of the arena or yourselves or things like that? Is the wiring messy or loose? Is it sort of a rat's nest to try and debug or understand why something's shorting out? Is the kit loose? If we sort of rattle the robot lightly, does it sound like it's full of like nuts and bolts, or is everything nicely tied down properly? And of course, is the battery connected? All of this is documented on our website. If you come to the competition with an unsafe robot, you will have to fix it before you can do anything. And that's going to be wasting valuable time, so you're going to want to make sure you're considering the rules and regulations as part of designing your robot as early as possible. Now, as I have mentioned multiple times in the last 20 or so minutes, testing is critical. You need to know how your robot actually performs. There's no good writing some code going, yeah, this will theoretically work, get to the arena and nothing happens. You need to test it. We see time and time again, teams who test their robot more, especially at the competition, almost always do better. So you want to make sure you have something moving quickly so you can start on that testing as early as possible, because theory is not everything. Now, accurate movement is again pretty important. You want to stay in lane where you expect. Two motors spinning at the same speed will not, or given the same amount of power, will not turn at the same speed. You will need to account for this in your code to make sure that you do actually drive in a straight line when you expect to. If one motor spins faster than another, slow it down a little bit. You're also going to need to work out when to stop. Are you going to be constantly checking for fiducial markers to work out a distance? Are you going to wait for a specific amount of time? Are you going to use a different sensor to work out once you reach this point, then stop? What happens if that point never hits? Are you just going to spend 2 minutes of the max driving straight into a wall, waiting until you see a marker? You're going to need to think about some of these things. You don't just want to turn your motors at full speed all the time. It's great fun seeing a robot drive off as fast as it can across the floor, but it's really hard to control, and it means things happen a lot more quickly. Motor power generally is roughly linear to speed if you squint hard enough. If you halve the amount of power going into a motor, it will spin about half the speed, so it will take about twice as long to move the same distance. You're going to need to take input from the real world. You're going to use your sensors to check where you are is actually where you think you are. If you want to go in a straight line, use a sensor to make sure that's what's happening. Maybe you want to use the camera to update your position in the arena. The best way to confirm you have accurate movement is to test. So you want to make sure, get some parts of an arena set up, confirm that if you tell your robot to drive straight, that's actually what it does. Now, when you get your kit, you'll notice some random blue squares of carpet, possibly more than one. This might look familiar. This is the carpet from last year. In fact, these squares of carpet are literally the carpet that we used last year. But this year, we're not using carpet for the arena floor. A change that has actually, we've used carpet for the last 12 or so years, possibly even longer than that. We're not using carpet anymore. We're using interlocking foam pieces. These are much, much easier to procure. They are much more robust. It is much easier to define than closed loop short pile carpet, because I'm standing on carpet at the moment, but this is different carpet, even if it is also closed loop short pile carpet. The carpet, however, is yours to do whatever you like with. It made excellent void filling for us for nice shipping. You can use it for testing. You can just bin it responsibly. You could build a small fort, or you could keep it for future years in case tiles don't work out. Now, you're going to need some way for your robot to actually do something. Your robot needs a brain. This is an autonomous competition after all. You can't get a remote control out and do stuff. It's press start and then robot does something, hopefully. Now, your code is going to be written in Python. Python is a great language, or at least we think so. And we're going to give you a module to actually talk to all of the boards we're giving you. We're not just sending you an empty hand to try and work this out. In one single line, you can say, turn motor 0 on board 1 on to 100%. You don't need to worry about the complications of serial communications or retries or stuff like that. You say, do this thing, it'll happen. We've dealt with all of that complexity for you. But it is your responsibility to back up and version parts of your code. If you break or lose it, there is nothing we can do. If a USB drive corrupts, there is nothing we can do about that. So you're going to need to make sure you have multiple copies. Using things like version control, things like that are all really great ways of doing it. For local development, you can use any editor you like. There are no ties and things. If you want to use Notepad, you can. We'd recommend you not, but you can if you want. And like I say, you're going to want to have some kinds of backups, and you are potentially a distributed team. Some of you might all be in the same room working on things, but after that, you're probably going to go to your separate houses, and you might want to still be working on things. So you're going to want to make sure that you can work as a distributed team, working on little pieces spread across that team. You are going to want to think about your code structure. There are a lot of you and you're working as a team. If it's messy, it's going to be hard to develop and maintain, and that means it's going to be even harder to make quick fixes when time is of the essence. Are you going to want to have one gigantic file, or are you going to want to have lots of smaller ones to make things a little bit more composable? Now we do as well on top of the Python standard library, which has a lot of useful modules in it, and our module, which is nice for controlling boards. We do have a couple of extra modules in there which are particularly useful if you want to do scientific computing, complicated mathematical stuff, which I am not even remotely capable of talking about in detail. But we have plenty of modules in there to make your life a lot easier. There are lots of them, and they are all documented in the docs. If you do need some more, come talk to us, we'll see. But hopefully all the ones in there should give you all the tools you could possibly need. Now, it's all well and good writing your code, but you need some way of getting it onto the robot. The main entry point of your robot is called robot.py. Your robot is going to run this file, run the imports, and then do whatever it needs to do. You're going to take that robot.py and you're going to put it on a USB drive, which is going to come in our kit. There's nothing special about that USB drive. You can use a different one if you'd like. We just include one because it's convenient. It must be at the top level. So sitting directly on there, robot.py. Plug that into your robot, turn it on, and then wait for the start button. The start button will then start flashing. There's a little green LED behind that black button. When it starts flashing, it means the code has booted and it's ready to go. Press start, and off the code runs. If there's a problem, there'll be a red LED, and you can, on that USB stick will then be a log.txt. You can open that to understand what has happened. Now, your robot emits Wi-Fi. You can connect to that Wi-Fi, and you'll see a little web interface. From that, you'll be able to get things like live logs. You can see live what your robot is doing, which is incredibly helpful for debugging. You can live see what the last image captured from the camera is. You can understand, can it actually see this? Is there a part of my robot in the way? You can easily start and stop your robot or restart things. Just very quickly keep that edit debug cycle as quick as possible and as painless as it possibly can be. The web interface sounds great and it is really useful for debugging. It's not available when you're in a competition match because it's technically remote control, so it's disabled. But during development, even if you're at the competition, not in a match, you can still use it. But in a match itself, it will automatically be disabled and it just won't work. Now, there is far too much to cover in this presentation about all the different things our kit can do and the things you can do for building this, for building a robot. So we have the documentation site, studentrobotics.org/docs or strobo.org if you can't be bothered to type things. It's going to cover things like what all the different boards can do, how to control the different boards with the Python library we include, how to get code onto your robot, how to assemble things, the different boards and what they're spec'd for, things like that. Each board is linked in the sidebar under kit and programming respectively, and there's still plenty more to cover for the rest of today. Now, the competition itself is going to be split into 3 sections. You have some challenges, you have a league, and then you have knockouts. The final 2 are going to be happening in a weekend in April. For teams who have competed before, there is no virtual competition. That is intentional. There are just challenges, which I'll talk about more in a second. So what exactly are, oh, that's wrong. So the competition is the grand final for our year. You'll all come together to compete in a physical arena over a 2-day weekend event in April. You'll have a number of matches on that day, and in between your match appearances, you'll have ample time to tweak and develop your robot and make changes as you need to. There will also, chances are, be a second arena that you can use that is fully built up to spec as the real arena, but you can get time in between there to test your robot, see how it actually behaves in a real environment. The matches will probably be streamed live for friends and family to enjoy. So you can also watch back on your performances after the event. First off, you will have a number of league matches to get some points, and those league matches will then be used to seed a knockout bracket, and that knockout bracket works exactly as you'd expect. If you lose a match, if you're out, you progress through towards our grand final. Now, this is where the competition is going to be. I do want to emphasize these dates are provisional, but these are the dates we are aiming for. We're pretty confident it's going to be here again in the University of Southampton, and this is the date we're aiming for. As soon as they are confirmed, we will let your supervisors know, but the 11th and 12th of April, that says 2025. It's not this year, it's not in the past, it's next year, 2026. 11th and 12th of April, 2026. Like I say, you don't need to write that date down. Once it's confirmed, we will let you know. It will get on our website very, very soon. Now, all of those points, league matches are worth points, and those are going to be used to seek the knockouts. Challenges are a way of earning those points early. They're real points that can make a massive difference when it comes to seeking that knockout. The better you rank in the league, the easier your path through that knockout bracket will be, so all points matter. We use challenges where you can points you don't want completing some challenges. You can in fact start some of those challenges today, start earning points today, and those points can really make all the difference when it comes to the competition in April. So you're going to complete these challenges, which I'm going to talk about in a second. You then record it and send it to us as a video, either by email or in Discord. We'll then score them. If you pass, great, you get some points. If you don't, we'll tell you why not, and you can resubmit those challenges as many times as you like. Now, in the past, we've had 3 challenges. This year, there are 7. The details of all of them are specified in the rules, and I'm glad they're specified there because I can't remember the details of every single one. They're designed for you to build your skills in certain areas. The vision one is going to teach you how to use the camera, maybe some of the benefits and drawbacks. The movement one, funnily enough, helps you with movement. Mechanics, sensing. The simulator one is the only one of our challenges that can be completed in our simulator. All the others must be completed by your physical robot. Transportation and stopping, again, are about moving and then ultimately stopping at a given point. Hopefully these skills that you learn by completing challenges can easily be translated to parts of your robot. Your robot is eventually going to need to move around or sense some things, and that's why we have these challenges. Now, there are 4 challenge submission deadlines. Yes, the first one is only a few weeks away. There are a total of 12 points per challenge, which is the equivalent to winning 2 matches. I think that's still right.
Total 3 points per challenge.
3 points per challenge, okay, yes. All of this is written in the rules. You can complete the challenges in any order. There are 4 submission deadlines, so you have enough points to, you get points for completing 4 of them. If you want to complete all 7, do. If you only want to complete 2 of them and focus the rest of your time on your robot, that's fine too. At each submission date, the number of subsequent submissions decreases. After the 13th, you'll only be able to score points for submitting 3 challenges. After the 7th, we stop scoring altogether. So you video your challenge and then submit it into your team channel in Discord. Make sure you tag @challenges in there so the right people get pinged. If you're not in Discord, sending it by email is completely fine as well. We will try and respond to challenges as soon as possible, but there are lots of you and lots of challenges, and so we may take a little bit of time. Please give us at least a few working days to sort of turn these things around and give you a response. But if you have submitted them, I guarantee we have seen them, and we will send you confirmation we've received it as soon as we possibly can. But all this does mean to say, don't leave it until 10 minutes before the challenge and go, well, we submitted it 10 minutes before, hurry up. Because we will still, we count the submission based on the date you send it to us, not the date that we confirm and not the date that you get a response from us. But it means if you submit 10 minutes before and it doesn't actually pass, we're allowed to take 20 minutes to actually score it, so you won't have a chance to actually go around and do it again. So make sure you give plenty of time. Don't worry if your first submission doesn't pass. This is very common. We'll provide detailed feedback on what you need to improve, and so you can submit as many times as you like for any given challenge before that deadline. If you want to submit all 7 challenges before the 13th, A, wow, but B, you will still get all 4 sets of points, assuming they all pass, and you can then get on with building things. Or you can also, in theory, you can choose to do none of the challenges and just build your robot, but you'll be missing out on potentially up to 12 game points. League points. Thank you. That's like Jiminy Cricket. So I want to talk now about challenge days. Now, in the past, we've run things called tech days, which are times where you can come into a venue with a bunch of us, spend a whole day working on your robot with a bunch of blue shirts around to give you hands-on, in-depth mentoring and debugging help. Challenge days are very, very similar to that. In fact, they're basically identical to that, but the dates coincide with challenge submission deadlines, and that's very intentional. So that means if you want to come to one of these and focus on doing a challenge, we can score it live, we can tell you if it works, and you can nicely get that iteration round, get some points scored very, very quickly. And so we can give you advice on things that you might not know to ask for. We can give you instant feedback on challenges. And so if you can, we do highly recommend coming along to these. The dates are the 24th of January and the 21st of February. They are currently provisional, but we will be posting sign-up links to the events very, very soon once we've got dates and locations confirmed. So keep an eye on our websites, and team supervisors keep an eye on your emails. Now, to summarise, this is roughly and vaguely to scale the timeline for the competition. Today is Kickstart, which is here, and Christmas is semi-soon, but not so soon that we need to be talking about it. We're going to have some challenge days coming up in the new year, and throughout the year will be some challenge deadlines. The competition, as I've already said, is the 11th and 12th of April, and as these dates get confirmed, although the challenge deadlines at least are already confirmed, the rest of them, the in-person events, as soon as we've got the dates confirmed, we will update our website and we will let your team supervisors know. There we go. What you're about to do is a complicated challenge by design. It's meant to be difficult, and that's okay. You are not alone. It is okay to ask for help. That's not clicking. There we go. So, a great place to get support is from volunteers or blue shirts, us people in lovely blue t-shirts. A lot of us are ex-competitors. Many, in some cases many, years ago, we were sat exactly where you were, listening to someone other than me talk through a bunch of this stuff. Many of us work in industry or in academia and have experience in engineering, robotics, software development, all these kinds of things. And we pledge to watch the Discord like a hawk. Team leaders and team supervisors can get in contact with us. You can also just message in there, you can @blue shirts, ask us questions, and we will gladly answer them. On top of that, okay, it says tech days, challenge days. Again, you can come talk to us in person. If you've got a really complicated challenge and you want to spend an entire day focused on solving that, challenge days and tech days are the best place to do that. Discord, again, there are loads of blue shirts, and there are also other competitors. Something that we loved seeing last year was competitors helping out other competitors. You can talk to other teams in there, ask questions, get support, ask them what they're doing, see if they've solved the same problem that you're already having. So Discord is a fantastic resource for that kind of thing. Your team supervisors. Now, a lot of them, some of you, this might be your first time competing. Others have been doing this for a very long time. They know what they're doing, and also they're your teachers. Their entire job is to teach you various things, and so hopefully you can ask them questions and they can help you break down the problem and work through it. They are there to help you, and talking through a problem can be a perfectly amazing debugging strategy for certain things. Now, ChatGPT, awesome, but we strongly advise you use them with caution. As a point, some of the data sets that are used to build these large language models are older than the API that we're currently using. So no matter what you ask them, it is in some cases physically impossible for them to know the answer. You can use them as an aid, absolutely, but just don't blindly trust that they know what they're doing, because I guarantee you they don't. The best place if you want to talk to something and get an answer is Discord, because there are real human beings in there that generally do know what they're talking about. Generally. Now, on top of that, you're going to be sharing knowledge. This is not an individual challenge. You are working as a team. You want to make sure many people know how the code works, how the engineering works, what your strategy is going to be. You are a team, you are better together. Now, simple ideas are, again, often the best. Some things are going to be really cool. That spider I showed earlier was a massively incredible engineering effort. It moved in, I think, 2 of its matches in total throughout the entire event. Didn't score many points, funnily enough. Don't overcomplicate things. It looks really cool. It is really fun. But if you're wanting to score points, the simpler robots tend to do the best. Simple, elegant ideas always work out great. And of course, you want to prototype early and prototype often so you can try things out and test. Now, as I've mentioned, there is a Discord for this year. Some of you may have already joined. The Discord is a great way to chat with everyone involved in student robotics, both blue shirts and other teams. And there are quite a few channels in our Discord. Your team channel, the one that says team dash and then 3 letters, is private. Only your team and blue shirts and supervisors can see it. No other competitors can see it. So you can talk about your ideas without being concerned that other teams are going to steal them. No one else can see them. You can discuss your ideas and ask us questions that you don't want everyone else seeing. There are other channels that are open to everyone. Your channels for support, semi-relevant discussions, and talking about the things you've been doing on social media. SR-related things on social media, to clarify. Please follow the rules. Be excellent to each other. Hopefully we don't need to, but we will raise any violations of our rules with your supervisors, institutions, and schools as we see necessary. Everyone is here to help, learn, and have fun, or hopefully all of the above. Discord hopefully is a way that we can help you do that. This clicker does not like working. There we go. So, we've covered a lot already. We've covered who we are. Wow, suddenly everyone wakes up when you see the game written on there. You just lost, by the way. You just hear this. Not everyone in the room laughed at that, but a few people went, ugh. Yeah. So I've covered who we are. We've covered how to build your robot. We've covered the kit that we're giving you. And we've covered some tips for the year. But now we need to talk about what it is you're actually going to be doing. Now, you may have seen the simulator so far, which looks like a racetrack that the aim is clearly to drive around. That's not what the game is. That's just there as a development aid. That's just an environment to help you get started. This is what the actual game is going to be. This is what you're going to be competing on. So, the game for Student Robotics 2026 is called... Well, that was anticlimactic. There we go. The Neutral Zone. Ooh. So, this is what the arena for the Neutral Zone is like. I will say you don't need to take notes and recall all this. Everything I'm talking about is written in loads of detail in our rulebook, and there will be ample time once I have finished waffling for the last 46 minutes and a little bit longer. There is ample time to ask as many questions as you need. You don't need to take notes on all of this. It's all written down. This is what the arena is for the Neutral Zone. It is a 4.5 meter square. Yes, for people who have competed before, that is even smaller than the even smaller arena we've done in the past. And there are vision markers that you can see dotted all across the wall. Your robot starts in a laboratory, whatever you want to call it, lab. I'm just going to call it lab because it's easier. These little blue squares in the corners. They will change with each match. In every match, you won't always start in exactly the same one. It will be randomly shuffled. It will be balanced, so chances are you'll have the same number of matches in all of them, but it will be completely random. So make sure you test in all of them. Your robot can start anywhere inside that blue square, facing any direction, so long as it is in touch with at least one wall. So if you want to start right far out to there, in line with, say, one of these blue boxes, you can. If you want to start like 45 degrees into a corner, you can do that too. Robots must fit within a 500mm cube at the start of a match. That can extend horizontally up to 600mm or 50 centimeters, expanding to 60 centimeters during a match, and it can extend unbounded vertically. Within reason, the laws of physics still apply. They also apply in a simulator, funnily enough, but physics engines are really complicated. In the middle of the raised platform, in the middle of the arena, is a raised platform with some things on, and in fact, some dotted around as well. Okay, this clicker has decided to die. I'm just going to use a keyboard. There we go. So, spread throughout the arena are acidic and basic samples. The red ones are acidic. These will lower your laboratory's pH. The blue ones are basic. These will raise your pH. I think I've got that right around. The aim of the game is really simple. Bring the samples back to your lab. You get 1 point for every pH level you are away from neutral, which is 7. So if you have one basic and one acidic token, they cancel each other out, so you get nothing. Sample. Scores are calculated based on whatever the arena looks like when the clock hits 0. So it doesn't matter what the arena looks like throughout the match. When the clock hits 0, that's when we score things. As you can also see, samples, they have vision markers on. Each face is identical, but the marker IDs that are used may not always start in the same place. So if I jump back here, the one in the bottom, the blue one in the bottom left-hand corner for one match might be 37. The next match might randomly be 38. It will be completely random, but one thing is guaranteed is that each one will be unique. So you can at least keep track of which ones you've seen, which ones you've moved, and where they might be. Now, what counts as in a lab? This is based on what we like to use long words in the rules. So the rulebook says it is defined based on its vertical projection, which is basically a fancy way of saying if we look down at it, does it look like it's overlapping part of the lab? So what this means is that we can clearly see in the left-hand one, that sample is in the lab because it's quite clearly over the line. The one on the right is clearly not in the lab because it's not in. If any part of the sample is crossing over that taped line, it counts as in. Even if that is slightly by a small amount, we will score that, we'll work out the details of that. If it's slightly over, then we will deal with it. Then it counts as in and you'll get the points. Now, half the samples are on the raised area, that is 180 millimeters off the ground, or 18 centimeters for people who can't do 10 times tables. And some of them you will notice are 45 degrees rotated. Now, the samples aren't really acidic or basic, because that would be a health and safety nightmare. They are actually cardboard boxes. They are 130 millimeter single wall cardboard boxes. They have no additional weight. They weigh as much as 130 millimeter single wall cardboard boxes with some faces taped onto it. So, I don't know, 90 grams or so. They weigh basically nothing. There are a few bonus points that are additionally available throughout this. You'll get 1 bonus point for having any samples in your lab of any type. You'll get an additional bonus point for at any point throughout the match having left your lab. We will keep track of this, so you don't need to worry about it. You can move and touch any sample you like. That includes those in other people's labs. That is completely fine. Sabotaging is 100%, I'd say encouraged. I wouldn't go quite that strong, but it's just really funny to watch. So by all means, do it if you like. You can even put samples in someone else's lab. That's fine too. Matches last around 150 seconds. That might sound like a lot, but trust me, it's not. 2.5 minutes goes by really, really quick in these matches. So let's walk through a couple of scenarios. Here we have the yellow robot finishing with a single acidic token in their acidic sample in their lab. This gives them a total pH of 6, which is 1 pH away from 7, giving them 1 point. To retrieve it, they presumably had to leave their lab, which gives them another point. They also get a 3rd point, which I realise isn't on here, for having any samples in there at all. So it says final score 2, it's actually final score 3. Now there is actually some complexity here, which isn't obvious. If you're just looking at this, you could go, oh, they clearly have 3 points. 1 for a token, 1 for having moved, 1 for having any at all. But that's not actually the case. If their robot stayed where it was and someone else put that acidic token in, they wouldn't have left their lab to go and get it. And so you can't always tell whether they have that leaving point. All that is to say is that you don't need to worry about keeping track of scoring or understanding what's going on. We will be scoring all the matches for you. We'll be keeping track of what's happened in the arena, who's got the correct amount of points, and then we'll tot them up, and we have an unbelievably complicated system for showing things and showing fancy screens that show who's got what points. Needless to say, we're probably right about these things. You don't need to keep track of things. If you do spot an error, please come and tell us. We are occasionally wrong, but it's very unlikely. But the main thing is, we'll keep track of this stuff. So let's go through another example. In this case, it's the green team. We can see there are 3 samples. There is one basic one, the blue one, that is inside their lab. There is one acidic sample, again, inside their lab, and there is one acidic not inside their lab, reasonably clearly. The two samples in their lab cancel each other out. You go up 1 pH and then back down 1. The final pH is 7, so there's no points for the pH. But we assume that they did leave their lab, and they do have some in there, so whilst it says 1, it's actually 2 league points, game points. Example number 3, the pink team in this case. We can see there are 2 samples here, both of them somehow on top of the robot. There are 2 basic samples in there. They're on their robot, but they are importantly in their lab. The main point to highlight here is that just because they're sitting on a robot doesn't change anything. They're over the lab, which means they get the points. So in this case, it says 3, it's actually 4 because there's an extra mechanic missed out, but they get the 2 points there because it's still in the lab as far as the rules are concerned. Now, let's take a look at a bit of sabotage here. Here we have, on the left, we have the orange robot, which has 2 basic samples, giving it a nice 2 points. However, sneakily, the pink robot has other ideas. Conventionally, giving objects to your opponents would be bad. Take rugby, for example. You're not going to pass to your opponent. But in this case, orange is determined to do that. By orange taking an acidic sample and putting it in... by pink taking an acidic sample, putting it in orange's laboratory, the points have changed from 2 points down to 1, all without the orange robot actually doing anything. It just happened. So it is always worth keeping track of what samples are in your lab. If the points don't add up, kick some out. So that's the neutral zone, at least at a high level. Everything I have said is documented in the rulebook, including arena diagrams with exact measurements. Please read it and the challenge document to understand exactly what you need to do to score the points, both in challenges and in the actual competition itself. It's important that you understand them, because otherwise you're just sort of building blind, as it were. You can always ask questions, and in Discord and throughout the rest of the day, you can ask questions at any point, and we will get to them as soon as we can. There is ample time in a second, once I've stopped talking and can let my voice rest, to answer all of these questions you may have, because like I said in the beginning, there is no such thing as a silly question. Please ask them now. Don't just sit there confused. Now, this is a competition after all, and you are here to win something. Prizes are our way of recognising and rewarding your hard work. The exact definitions of all of these prizes are defined in the rules, but I want to go through them a little bit. So, first off, there are the obvious ones. 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place. These ones are based on your position in the knockouts. So you go through all your league, down to the knockouts. The grand final will be between 4 robots. The top 3 get these awards. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, fairly straightforward. The Excellence in Engineering Award is the award which we judge as the robot with the best engineering, or the best idea, or elegant execution. It is, and I quote, awarded to the team that displays the most extraordinary ingenuity in the design of their robot. It's not an award for complexity, but rather elegance, simplicity, and good engineering. The Rookie Award. For some of you, you may have never competed in student robotics before. Some of you have competed in student robotics before, but some are doing it for the very first time, either as individuals or as a school, having never competed before. So this specifically is for schools who have never competed in student robotics before. If you're looking at what's in front of you thinking, I've never done this before, how can I possibly do very well? Well, to give an example, 1st place, 2nd place, Robot and Team Image, and Online Presence, 2 awards I haven't covered yet, all of these awards went to rookie teams last year. They'd never done this before either. Their school had never done anything like this before, and they came away with 4 of 7 awards total in the entire event. So rookie teams absolutely have all the chance to do this, and we are around to give everyone as much help as we possibly can. Now, some teams like to turn up to the competition in fancy dress, matching either their robot or the game or some other kind of theme. We want to reward that. This is the school of St Helens and St Catherine's, an aforementioned rookie team. In this case, they went for an Alice in Wonderland theme, and yes, that is actually a mirror on the back of the robot, like I showed earlier. Surprisingly legal as far as the rules are concerned for some very specific reasons, but that was technically okay. I don't want to go into the specifics, it's complicated. Now, we encourage everyone to be active on social media, talking about what it is they're doing throughout this year. Whether that's social media, blogging, or yes, even Discord counts towards this award. We want you to be posting about what it is you're doing, how your team and robot are doing. We're going to be engaging with other teams, supporting each other in Discord. This is the award we want to actually reward that kind of engagement. Be sure if you're on social media, hashtag SR2026, so we can see it. We'll likely be engaging with a lot of it. But you can also post your social media accounts in the Discord channel so we can see and keep track of things as well, and just generally talk about things, because again, Discord counts for points on this one. Well, metaphorical points, we don't keep track of that religiously. So, now that you know what you need to do, you need to get started with your kit. And that is where the micro games come in. These are going to be used for getting familiar with your kit through a series of tasks. These aren't worth points like the challenges are, but they are still vital lessons nonetheless. The microgames are in two parts. There is a kit part to get used to using your kit, and there is the simulator part to get used to building a robot, the API, things like that. These can be found in the resources section on our docs or at cerebral.org/microgames. We've got answers, and team supervisors, we will give you some answers to exactly all the pieces and how that's going to work. But if you do have any questions on that, please come and talk to us in Discord. So, now I'm going to get bombarded. Any questions? So, if you're in the room and you have questions, stick your hands up. If you are remote, stick them in Discord or in the YouTube chat, and my less than glamorous assistants will keep track of things. So, first up in the room, any questions immediately? Yes, one at the back.
Just a moment.
Oh, Alice is going to do some lovely steps to run and talk you into a mic. Assume it's on.
Are the boxes or the acids and bases going to be distributed randomly, or are there going to be a specific amount of them in each?
No, so they will always, let me jump all the way back to something that has them. Yes, at the start of a match, they will always look exactly like that. The acids will start where the acids are, the bases will start where the bases are. The IDs on them might be shuffled, but they will always start exactly there. The rotated ones will be rotated, the non-rotated ones will not be rotated. They will all look exactly like that, the correct ones on the raise, and they'll get reset exactly at the start and end of every match.
Okay, a question from chat. For the challenges, do you only get scored for up to 4, or do you get 7 points for all 7 if you do them before the deadlines?
I'll let you answer that one.
So the points are for up to 4 challenges, so you can choose any 4 of the 7 that you like. You're welcome to do all 7 if you choose, but you get points for up to 4.
Yes. Anyone in the room? Let's try and alternate. Yes.
How does the movement scoring work? With the going outside the box to get a point, or going outside your lab to get a point? How does that work?
So at some point throughout the match, your robot just needs to have left the lab, the blue square. It needs to fully have left, so all parts of it must have crossed the tape line. But once it does that, you magically get a point. We'll keep track of it, don't need to worry about that, but it's just at some point. It's not where you finish, it's just at some point you have to have left. It's basically a way of rewarding your robot has moved, but it hasn't been able to necessarily fully grab a sample and bring it back, but we still want to be able to reward the fact that you have got a robot to move.
Another question from online. When will kits be sent out to teams who couldn't make it to the Kickstart event today?
Ah, that one. I was expecting that one. That was nice and early. Yes, so as an organisation, we've had a couple of internal logistical challenges around getting kits dispatched. We wanted to get them so that everyone remote had them in their hands right now. Unfortunately, we have faced some challenges with that. We are hoping to get them dispatched as soon as possible. We're actively working on this every single day. As soon as we have an update, as soon as they are dispatched, we will let you know, but we are aiming to get them to you sort of within the next week or maybe 2 at the most. As soon as they're ready for dispatch, we will let you know. For anyone who hasn't sent in their kit disclaimer forms or paid their shipping invoice, this time is the perfect time to do it because we will dispatch as many as we possibly can in one wave. But we do, again, apologise for this sort of latency is probably the best word for it. Yes?
How does the...
Oh, let's get the mic.
Let's get the mic so we can hear it in the live stream.
how does the league work? Is it like on separate days to the knockout? And then
Yes, really good question. So all of the competition, like other than the challenges, all of the competition happens on one weekend. Exactly how that spreads between sort of which day is league and which day is knockouts and things like that. The league will always happen before the knockouts because you can't reorder those. Generally, what we do is the Saturday is all league. The Sunday, generally, there'll be a bit of league in the morning and then knockouts the rest of it. You are sort of assumed to be attending for the entire weekend. It is sort of a quote-unquote residential event. We can't organise food, accommodation, travel, things like that. All we can do is give you a venue. So your schools will need to work out the other bits of admin. But as for the actual structure, it is there'll be league in the Saturday with ample time to do testing, things like that. And then the knockouts will be on Sunday afternoon. And yeah, anyone's then welcome. And the whole thing will hopefully be live streamed as well and recorded. Anything online?
Yes, one from chat. Can acids and bases have the same fiducial marker, like an acid 32 and a base 32?
Really good question. The answer is no. So every individual cube is unique. So the marker IDs don't overlap. So you can look at one and go, this is number 39. From that, you can know for certain it is a basic one. We can immediately tell where it is and it will only one cube in a given arena will be that ID. That might start in a different place, but there will only ever be one of them. Next up in the room.
This is a question on the kit. How does a damaged kit work, or what's the procedure for it?
So the easy answer to that is don't break it. It's a really easy one. Just don't break stuff. In the same way that we also strongly recommend don't write any bugs. It's really easy. Just don't write bugs. I don't know why no one does it. So basically, if for whatever reason you do break a board, let us know. We'll work things out. Accidents do happen, but please try and be careful. If it is unsafe and it still works, again, please let us know. We do have replacements and spares that we can get shipped out. It will take a bit, which is why we try and say be careful, because while something is broken, you can't be doing stuff. But generally, there are sort of, if something does break, whatever, we will try and get one shipped out. In the same way, if you lose something, similar kinds of things, there might be sort of damages and costs associated with that, but that's sort of boring stuff that even I don't want to have to deal with. But yes, if you do break something, we will get you a replacement sent out. Right, let's swap to do something online.
Right, question from online. Do you still get points if you move the base or acid into your lab, but the other robot moves it out for the bonus points? Do you mind if I take this one?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't mind.
Okay, so there's a bonus point for moving out of your zone, which you get when you move out of your lab for the first time. Everything else in the game is scored based on where things are at the end of the game. So if you've had samples in your lab at some point during the game but then moved out, that doesn't really matter as far as the points are concerned. The only thing that matters, apart from the movement point, is the state at the end of the game when the lights come down.
Yes, the only caveat to that is if this occasionally happens, it's probably not going to happen in this one, but I'm going to mention it because it is in the rules. If, when the clock hits 0, a sample is somehow flying through the air, does happen, we score based on where it comes to rest. If that is in one, we wait a little bit for that one only. All the other ones are scored at that point, but if it is somehow flying through the air, we score it based on where it comes to rest rather than where it is sort of mid-flight. Okay. Yes, question from the room.
So as far as scoring tokens is concerned, does an edge or corner have to be touching the tape of a laboratory, or does it have to be touching the blue of the inside?
Really good question, yes. So as far as the labs are concerned, the tape is considered part of the lab. So if it's, the tape is mostly used for sort of visual and understanding whose it is, but if it's even slightly over that tape line, we count it as in. So the tape is considered part of the lab, basically.
Question from online. Will ID 32 always be an acid, or can 32 switch to be a base?
Well, 32 might not be an acid. I don't know. I'm pulling that number out of thin air. But if a number is always an acid, it is always an acid. That will never change. The rulebook says the ranges for, I forget the specifics, but like 19 through 38 are always acids. 39 through 50, for example, are always bases. 0 through 19 are always the arena. That will never change. Which ones are in a match might change. The arena won't. They'll always be 0 through 19. Which bases are in a match, that might change, but the numbers on them are always exactly the same type. That shuffling only happens in the physical one. The simulated arena, those ones always look the same, so we have had some people get confused by that. Shuffling those is really complicated. In the actual physical one, that's when they might get shuffled around a bit. Right, anyone in the room? Yes.
Saying like in the middle of the match, if a wire gets unplugged or something, would we ever be able to reset it, the robot?
No. So, really good question. So, when once you've hit start, your robot goes. If a wire gets unplugged and the robot stops, tough. We're not going to pause or stop a match. We're not going to let you go in and reconnect it and try and restart it. Nothing like that. There are some extra caveats to that rule, which don't go in your favour. If your robot hasn't turned on in time, it's still booting up, and sort of it's only started like 5 seconds in, you can mash start, that's fine. If something weird happens, the code crashes, and you restart your robot, you will be disqualified. Restarting your robot is not allowed as part of the match. Well, you can do those. You can mash start. If it doesn't start, I'm sorry. If you restart your robot, you'll be disqualified, which is why we say don't restart your robot. If it just sits there, that's it. It's at least turned up. One of the things to mention is the way that game points are converted to league points. You score more points by turning up to a match and doing nothing than you do by not turning up to a match, which is why we do actually recommend, somewhat counterintuitively, bring your robot to a match, even if the code doesn't do anything. If you bring it up, put it in the arena, and follow the process of a match through fully, you'll get some points. If you don't turn up because you're still finishing stuff, you will get 0 points. And so it's always worth doing something from that.
Question online. What happens if the flying box at the end hits a different box?
I'm going to do my favourite part of this job and go, this is not my problem, and ask the head judge.
You'll hear a strange gurgling sound as I have a brain aneurysm, and then we will score the match as everything has come to rest. So if there's some ridiculous...
Newton's cradle.
Some Newton's cradle situation or bowling alley situation, we'll wait until all the boxes have stopped moving, which due to conservation of energy and entropy they will, and then we'll score it.
Yes. I was about to mention something on that. Things are complicated, but there is one extra rule which is worded very short but is very important, which says the judge's decision is final, which basically is a nice way of saying if something happens in a match which isn't covered by the rules, Alistair will just think of something vaguely sensible, do that, vaguely sensible, for the first time in his life, vaguely sensible, and then what we do is we make sure that that is set as precedence. So if a similar thing or the same thing happens in a future match, it will be done in exactly the same way, because we are reasonable people. Okay, next up.
Yeah, I can see there's 8 boxes in the arena, 8 acids to be specific. How does that work? Like 7 away from neutral is 0 pH?
So if you have somehow collected all of the basic ones, you will end up with a pH of -1. I asked this exact question, and I was informed by someone who has actually studied chemistry, i.e. not me, that you can actually have a pH of -1. -1 is just 8 away from 7, so you get 8 points.
It's a log scale.
Yeah.
Cool. Question from online. What is going to happen with the knockouts this year? Is it going to be like the second chance and lower and upper knockouts like last year's competition?
Yes, so for context, last year we ran what is known as a double elimination knockout, which is really, really complicated, but it basically means that if you lose a match, you're not knocked out. You get a second chance to potentially get knocked out or potentially sort of stay in and progress through. I don't think we've decided yet whether we're going to do double elimination, single elimination, or normal one. Once we have confirmed, we will let you know. But in theory, you shouldn't need to worry about it too much. All you need to do is keep an eye on the schedule on the website, the screens around the arena, and that will tell you when your matches are and things like that. We have to deal with the horrible complexities around double elimination.
Definitely maybe.
Yes. Someone in the room.
How many matches does each team play?
How many matches does each team play? It depends. Every team will play in the league the same number of matches. What that number is, I don't know. And what I mean by that is we haven't decided yet. We're going to work it out based on kind of the day schedule, how many teams we're expecting to show up, sort of what other things we need to fit into the day, things like that.
Likely to be fewer than last year, but TBD.
Yes. When we know a number, once there is sort of a schedule for matches, we will let you know. But the league, every team will play exactly the same number of matches. When we get into a knockout, for obvious reasons, the numbers decrease as things go on. But everyone will have the same number of league. Everyone should have roughly the same number of knockout ones. Occasionally, because of knockout maths, we take the top positions and progress them through the first knockout bracket. But again, if that does need to happen, that will all be documented in our Magic scheduling software. But the main thing is when you're at the venue, keep an eye on the screens because those will tell you when your matches are. And they're also on the website once we get there.
Okay, quick question from online, which was actually retracted, but we're going to answer it anyway. What happens if my robot, quote unquote, accidentally crashes into the other team's robot?
So,
do you mind if I take this one?
No, go for it.
Okay, so there's two answers to this, depending on whether you include the scare quotes that were in the question.
Yeah.
So if your robot genuinely accidentally hits another robot, that happens. Like, it's unfortunate, it happens, it's not the end of the world. Usually the robots end up being pretty robust.
It's actually better worth saying that it will happen at some
point.
point.
It will happen. Bumps and scrapes do happen. It's not a big deal. It's very good idea to take whatever steps you need to take to reasonably avoid those if you can. And if there's, there's particular reasons why you'd be very crashy, then we might push you towards that. But accidents do happen. If you take the scare quotes, the version where you're deliberately ramming someone else, that is not allowed. This is a non-contact sport, and you will be disqualified from matches if you do it.
Yeah, you'll be disqualified from one match if you do it in one match. If you keep doing it, we may ask you to leave.
So outside of challenge days and Discord, is there any other way? Can we get ask for a blue shirt to come and visit the school at some stage?
Oh, really good question. Yes. So Discord, we're around we're all day, every day. Not all day. We do sleep, but you can get all the support that. If you would like someone to come in, there are geographical restrictions in certain things, but we will at some point, sort of in the next couple of weeks, ask you, would you like a mentor? What a mentor is it's basically, rather than sort of asking all of the volunteers on Discord, please answer my question, we'll give you one specific person who knows your team, knows your robot, knows your strategy. If they're close to you, which we try and do, but for reasons that might not be possible, they might be up for coming into your school, helping you hands-on. Obviously, there might be admin reasons why that's really complicated, but it is possible. We do try and do that where we can, but sometimes things don't allow. But we do try and do these kind of mentor things, and we'll try and get sign-ups and details on things sort of over the next couple of weeks.
Are there any procedures for cubes coming out of the arena?
You can tell a question is a good question where it's followed by a long pause. Procedures for them leaving the arena. I think it just vanishes into thin air. I think at that point, sort of conservation of energy sort of falls off a cliff and it functionally stops existing. If it falls out, the one thing I will say is, if for whatever reason you are stood around the arena and one lands at your feet, do not pick it up and throw it back into the arena. we will get very, very unhappy. If it falls out, leave it there. Or at the very least, if a marshal comes around and asks for it, please give it to them, be nice. Don't throw it back into the arena. Don't sort of interact with the match once it's started. I think at that point, yeah, the sample just ceases to exist. Don't do it, don't try and weaponize this fact. Don't sort of get all your ones and throw the rest of them out so no one can have any. If you start doing that, it starts falling under sort of good sporting conduct, and then sort of disqualification may arise. Probably won't get disqualified on the first instance because repeat offences are the things that matter. But again, try not to do it. Well, don't do it. Anything more online? Nope. Run, Alistair, run.
If a robot extends vertically over 60 centimeters and falls over, will it get disqualified?
Oh, I always hate this question. I think the wording in the rules is a robot's height is unbound. I am 6 foot. If I lay on the ground, I'm still 6 foot, so it's okay. The question then becomes, if I spend most of my time laying down, am I actually only at about a foot tall and just very, very wide? That's a really complicated question that doesn't really have a strict answer and is going to fall under the what he says goes.
Don't try it.
This is one of the things I love about these kind of Q&As is you get people asking these, what if this crazy thing happens? And the answer is, we don't know, it's not really happened, and so we wait until that thing happens. There are various parts of the rules that exist purely because it happened one year and we need to stop it happening again. The rule for your robot may not have devices that emit noise is strictly in there because my team, many years ago, strapped speakers to our robot and played Flight of the Valkyries as we drove around the arena. Really, really funny in testing in a school, really, really funny in the pits for us, pointless in a match because the match speakers are significantly larger, and really annoying for everyone else trying to build their robot as they hear Flight of the Valkyries and can't actually get any work done.
I do want to add something to this, which is that the point of that restriction is so you can build things like scissor lifts, like clever lifting mechanisms that go up above the robot. That's the point of the rule, and the point of the horizontal restriction is so that you don't just build something that blocks large amounts of the arena or like blocks everyone else going around. So that's the sort of spirit of the rule. Now, if you had a thing where you built a scissor lift robot and then it falls over, we're not going to be like, oh, well, technically that's horizontal now. Like that would be fine. But if you're trying to like come up with some clever justification where you've got a robot which is just massively wide, but you've written top on one side, like no, that's not within the spirit of the rules. So like the point is to apply the reason that rule is there, and that's how we would rule in the event. So good thinking, but don't try it.
Okay, any other questions in the room?
Are you allowed to like disturb other teams? Not like that, but you know how you had like the mirror.
Keeping the peace or something?
No, you know how you had the mirror.
Yes.
As an example, wouldn't that surely be confusing? Could you do like other things that would
potentially be
distracting or make it more difficult for other teams?
So I'm gonna answer this in two parts. One, I'm going to explain the context of why we allowed the mirror. But before I do that, there is a good sporting conduct kind of thing. In theory, I suspect if you are playing contact rugby covered in sort of barbed wire, that might not be explicitly disallowed in the rules because it comes under good sporting conduct. So probably can't do that. So for example, if you were to stick some of the fiducial markers for the arena or other boxes on your robot and drive around, that's not okay. We will ask you to take them off. Before the competition, when you turn up, we do two checks. One is it safe? One is, does it comply to the rules? If you stick markers on it, other than a paper cut, it will probably be safe. It won't pass our rules. The mirror was exactly when someone went, can we do this? They turned up to the competition with that mirror on the back. Our concern was, if you see a fiducial marker reflected in it, is that a problem? And that was exactly my thinking. So we got a camera and we tested it. And basically, because they were those sort of card mirrors, I think, or they might have been laminated. But either way, because of the distortion in the mirror, you couldn't actually pick up a marker. No matter we gave it perfect, ideal situations, and we couldn't see anything. Even with like a better camera and a bigger marker, still couldn't see anything. So we went, that's fine. If it's intended to be malicious, we'll say no. If it's a genuine accident, we'll test it. If it's fine, it's fine. If it's not, it's not. For example, I found when I competed, my college had a sort of centimetre squared metal grate along one of the walls of the classroom. If you try and use the vision system pointed at that, it gets really slow. It goes from sort of 3 frames a second to sort of 3 frames a minute. It gets really slow. We considered weaponizing it because it would be really funny. Unfortunately, he exists and he would have told us no. And so at that point, we didn't bother. Things like that, again, if it starts becoming a problem, we'll tell you no. If we pass it initially, it gets into the arena and then we notice, we still reserve the right to say no later. So it is generally, if you're thinking, oh, can I be sneaky and do this thing? We're probably smart enough to notice what's going on. And you might get away with it for 1 match, and then we'll tell you no. And if you spend time fixing it rather than working on a robot, you're then penalised for it, and so it doesn't really work out.
I want to add something quickly onto the end of that, which is if you've got some madcap idea or something you really want to try, which is a bit out there and you're not sure how it'll fit into our rules, or if there's something where you think, this could be clever, but I'm not sure if it's allowed, just talk to us. We're there in Discord, talk to us early. If you want to try something where you're thinking, oh, this is actually pushing up against the rules, but it would be really, really cool if we could do it, work with us. Like, we can make things work with you if we know in plenty of time. If we're surprised by something, if you've turned up with a drone or something at the competition, and that's the first we hear of it, you're probably going to get a no, right? But if you want to try something like that, and you can tell us, like, in a month's time, we might be able to either tell you that's not going to work ahead of time and you won't go down spending unnecessary work on it, or we'll find a way to make it work with you. You can tell us in private by @ing us in your team's channel, so you don't need to announce what you're doing. But yeah, we're not here to we're not just here to make things annoying. So yeah,
boring.
Yeah, come to us, work with us.
Yeah. Any more questions in the room? Yes. It's fun watching Alistair run.
Tell us about your flaw.
Tell us about...
The character flaw, or...?
Yeah. So you want me to spill all of Alistair's flaws? Oh, right.
We could be here a while, folks.
So, I have heard rumours, or at least I asked Alex to bring some today. So in theory, the floor exists somewhere in Greater Southampton. It's basically, it's sort of 1 centimetre thick foam, it's a rubberized foam tile that we then interlock together. It'll be taped down securely, it won't move, there won't be sort of edges to get caught on. But it's that kind of thing. What we want to do at some point is, once we've got better wording of the thing, we will put we're going to buy exactly this thing. It's pretty cheap if you want to buy some too. It's sort of like 40 quid for a couple of squares. Like, it's not massive. So if you do want to buy exactly the thing we're going to be using, we will absolutely support this. Yeah, it's sort of centimetre odd thick, foamish thing. It's really hard to describe. Yeah.
It's going to behave very different to carpet.
Yes.
And very different from hard floor. So everyone's going to need to get it sort of ASAP.
Yeah.
Yes, but only if it's going to behave.
If it matters.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If it matters. If your robot is just driving around and doing fairly simple things, it'll be different to carpet, but it should be fine. If you're doing complicated movement, like tank tracks, where like the coefficient of friction starts actually mattering, then it becomes more important. these foam tiles will have more friction than carpet, more friction than hard floor. It is sort of semi-rubberized on the top, so it is sort of a high friction material.
It's going to matter a lot to rookie teams.
It's going to matter a lot to rookie teams, yes. If they're not aware of the differences between certain materials and things like that, yes. Something that we are aiming for as well is to have quarters or halves of arenas set up for these challenge days with this floor. So you can then come and go, how does our robot behave on these floors? So you can sort of know for sure.
And there's also a benefit to the new one once we publish it, which is that unlike the carpet rolls, they come in the small tiles. You can just get one of the actual thing in every team for a couple of quid.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll send out the details shortly.
Yes, yes.
Another question online. Can we have boxes stored inside the robot to be guarded?
Yeah, I'm saying this is... I'm just going to say yes, you can. On the basis of... Let me bring up that one. So, yes, you can, on the understanding of if it's in the robot, it's not worth any points. It only matters where it finishes. So in this case, if rather than sat on a robot, it was in the robot, that would still be fine because the vertical projection is in your lab. If it's in your robot but not in your lab, it's not worth any points. Worse still, if it's in your robot in someone else's lab, it gives them the points, not you. So you have got to be careful of that one. But yes, if you want to sort of absorb them to then move around more easily, that's fine too. If you want to try to carry sort of 4 or 5 at once if you want, that's absolutely fine.
Would a box that's connected to the robot be considered part of the box and then go over the limit of size?
No. So if your robot is carrying a sample, it is your robot carrying a sample. The sample isn't part of your robot in the same way that if I hold this keyboard, I'm not part computer. The extent rules are designed, they are for your robot itself, not sort of the continuous structure that is connected to your robot.
How high is the platform in the middle?
The platform in the middle is 180 millimeters high. It is, I want to say, 1.2 meters squared, but the diagrams we have here are screenshots of the simulator. There is a nice top-down, to-scale, measured image in the rulebook that has exact measurements for things and tolerances and things like that. So that's where you can get all those details. But yeah, it's 180 mil high and I think about 1.2 meters squared. Any more online? Got one in here.
Is there any data that like our robot will be provided with, for example, like how much time is left? Or do we have to like estimate that ourselves with our robot?
Bit of both. So because it's a Pi, it runs Linux, it has a clock. It's not a real-time clock. We have seen in some cases sort of with lower battery, CPU runs slower, time drifts. But you can, in theory, for some level of precision, go, what is the current time, and get a number. It will probably be somewhere in 2014, but it'll be a number. And if you wait a second, that number will be 1 bigger than it was. So you can't necessarily tell what the time is, but you can tell how much time has passed, which generally is what you want. I forget if there's an attribute on the robot which says when was the start button pressed. If there's not, you can quite easily store one yourself and calculate it from that. But we have seen quite a lot, actually, to that point, that some teams will adapt their strategy based on how much time they have left in a match, and so that is a really good way of doing things.
Last couple of questions?
Yeah.
All right. One online. We've not received our kit yet, despite paying for the transport. Can you give us some idea of a delivery date? Thanks.
So the one thing I will emphasize on that is if you have sent us money, it has not been lost in the void. We have got it. We probably have record of it. There are some internal logistical challenges around certain things, which I'm not going to get into the details of, but basically things are delayed. We're hoping to get them dispatched in the next sort of week and a half-ish, but as soon as we're ready to do that, we will let you know, and we will dispatch them directly as soon as we can. If you have paid, that's fine. If you haven't done yet, now's the perfect time to do that, so we can get all the kits dispatched in one wave and you'll get them sooner. If in a week and a half you haven't given us all the details yet, we won't be able to dispatch your kit. We're hoping to do no more than one batch per week. So if you take too long, you might be waiting up to a week to then get your kit dispatched and get it sent over to you.
Any more in the room?
Nothing in the room. Any more online?
No, I think we're done. Oh, did I hear one? Raise your hand if you've got one.
I have a hand.
Okay, not you.
Okay.
Okay, I get one last one on my line then, which is what happens if battery overheats or catches fire during a match in the arena?
Okay, if a battery overheats, it should do nothing but get hot. If we have had one case where a robot did suddenly start smoking in an arena, that was last year. That was terrifying. Some wires shorted, melted some electrical tape. It wasn't that bad. If there is realistically, nothing about this event is going to be any different. If a thing catches fire, follow fire precautions. Leave the building by the nearest fire exit. Go to the fire assembly point. Team supervisors will make sure they've got everyone. We'll make sure the building's empty. All the normal things. We did have a couple of years ago a point where we did have to sort of pause the competition for a little bit. We will just adjust the schedules and such to make things work out. In general, sort of common sense health and safety things apply to our event as much as they do any other event. Any more for any more? I will take stunned in-person and remote silence as a no. If you do have any questions throughout the rest of the day, please come and ask one of us. If you are not in the room, asking us on Discord is the best place to go. We probably won't see the YouTube chat from when I stop talking, mostly because it will be paused. But Discord, email, things like that, we will be watching throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of the competition period. But with that, I wish you all the very best of luck in this competition. As I say, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be breaking for lunch nowish, and then we'll be heading on to the micro games. Links of those are on our websites. Thank you very much. Hey.